Hello and welcome to the PhD Life Raft podcast. I'm Emma Brzezinski and today I am talking to the awesome Milensu Shanyinde. We're talking about friendship, the importance of being with people who are like you in an environment that you might not feel very comfortable in. We're talking about the importance of having people who have got your back while you're doing the PhD. We're also talking about people that inspire you. And Milensu reveals that she is a member of the 5 a.m. club. So I do hope you enjoy this episode. Good evening, Milensu.
Hi, Emma.
Thank you so much for being here. I have to let everybody know before we start that we've got a hero in our midst because Milensu was one of the clinical statisticians working on the COVID trials. So that is awesome. I'm completely in awe of meeting you and just thank you so much for all the work that you did there. It's just amazing. Thank you. Thank you also for being willing to step up and share your story. You reached out, we were emailing around sort of issues of representation. And so as I always say to people, be careful about emailing me because then I said, well, would you come and talk about it, please?
Yeah, that's true.
And then you said you would. And I'm really very, very grateful for you to take the time to do this. How we always begin is by asking people to just tell us about their story. So I know that it has been shall we say, a rich story. So tell us a little bit about your story into the PhD and through the PhD.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Emma. I thought I should just give like a little really brief history. So my father played a huge role in influencing the subjects that we chose to study and a typical African parent culture of picking a STEM subject to give us a good chance of a good career path due to our ethnic background.
Love it.
Yeah, so I studied maths and stats at undergrad level, and because I love numbers, problem solving, this was a good choice. Then after my graduate degree, which was in maths and stats, I then decided to pursue a master's degree. And at that time, it was when it was really hard to find a job due to the economic crash. So one of my undergrad tutors said, oh, why don't you go do a master's in medical stats and it's all paid for? And I was like, oh, yeah, why not? So I jumped on the opportunity. Then after finishing my master's, I then went ahead and applied for a job at Oxford University in cancer clinical trial as a cancer clinical trial statistician. And because I thought, oh my gosh, going to Oxford, you have to be a chosen one. You can't just go to Oxford just like that. So I remember when they called me and offered me the job on April Fool's Day, I thought it was a joke.
Oh, no.
I thought I thought it was a joke. And then they were like, no, we're actually serious. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, yes, I'll take it. Because there was just this belief, like, if you have to go to Oxford, you have to be like really, really special or something.
Because you are, right? Let's just say that again. You are.
Oh, I try. So then I worked there for like a few years. And then because I was in academia, it then became apparent that, okay, I think the next natural step was to do a PhD. So because I thought that I'd reached a natural plateau in being in academia, and it felt the right thing to do. So I then began searching for a PhD. Not that I was looking for anything specific, but I think in terms of my background, I was looking for something that would then advance me in my statistical skills. Nice. And my passion for medical research as well. So then I just happened to then find one that was advertised at University College London. And again, it was funded. So of course I was happy with that because we love funded things. So that's how then I started my PhD, which the PhD itself examines the impact of hepatitis C, so which is a virus that affects the liver in people living with HIV in Italy. So the reason why this is important is because hepatitis C is asymptomatic disease. And if it's left untreated, it can lead to severe liver disease. Now, the question is that there is actually evidence that in people that are living with HIV who also have hepatitis C, this disease progression is faster. So this is where I'm at in my final stages and currently writing up and nearing submission.
Amazing. Amazing. And what important work, literally saving people's lives potentially.
Thanks. Yes. And also just to mention as well, like I am working part-time as a statistician, as you said before. So I'm back at Oxford and definitely working on groundbreaking research.
Amazing. And not only are you doing that, you have your family life and all of that going on too. So you are a busy woman, which is why I'm just going to say thank you again for taking time to be here. So you talked about being at Oxford, you talked about that sense of kind of thinking these kind of special people and should you be there? And we were talking about what you could talk about on the podcast, and it was spoiled for choice. There's too many things. And we were thinking about role models, we were thinking about mentorship, we were thinking about kind of the representation and Black women in the academy. And we kind of came to this idea of friendship and the friendships that have been important to you, and the way in which that perhaps links to role models and mentorship and the other issues.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that? Tell us about your gorgeous friends.
Yeah, my gorgeous friends. Yeah, so actually I had met a lot of them when I was in Oxford. This is just before I then did the PhD. And it just so happened that literally I think all of them, probably about 6 or 7 of them, were doing PhDs, and they were all from, I guess, like an African country. And so in a way we kind of connected right away because, we had a lot to talk about and just a lot to exchange ideas on and just, really just understand the battle through it. So I remember even when I was trying to decide to do a PhD, definitely they played a very huge role because I constantly went to them and had conversations about, doing one and, is it worth doing it and things like that. So they definitely really inspired me to pursue one. And really played a role.
And I think having that group of people who you can just bounce ideas off and that believe in you, I think that's a really important thing, isn't it? People that have got your back, who will tell you the truth as well, because that's really important.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that they are safe people to go and talk to, and they had experience there, so that was really important for you. And you talked about how they were kind of role models for you too. So can you say a little bit about that in terms of how they have inspired you or shown you a route through?
Sure. I mean, like the one person that I can mention, so her name is Dr. Milensu Shanyinde. And she's actually now based in Kenya, and her work is to do with malaria. But actually, I think through that process, she really became my best friend and my confidant, because then, we can kind of just share those, share those fears or actually like real challenges and saying, okay, if you do one, this is what's going to happen, or this is not what's going to happen. And actually now that she's obviously finished hers, but now that I'm doing mine, I'm always constantly going to her saying, oh, what do you think about this? This is going on. And that's so important, because although this PhD journey, you really can feel alone sometimes, but then actually just kind of having them around is just so important. And I think as well, I also remember there was a time I was having like a challenging time during a PhD, and then there was another Black friend I was able to call upon, and literally I was able to speak to her and say, oh my gosh, this is what's happening, what's going on, like, what do I do? And there was just this whole calming effect, of just kind of then seeing a different perspective to everything. And I just felt like, oh gosh, this, these tips, this information is just so invaluable. Like, I don't know how I would have kind of gotten through this whole process, just knowing that they're also in that, that they've been through that journey, and they keep encouraging me to keep going through it as well.
Yes, this sense of people who are
No, that's fine. And also I think the reason why I probably felt confident and maybe trusting them is because I was like, oh, these are Black women, who look like me. If I went to somebody else who was not Black, I don't think they would kind of understand what I'm going through, because it's all combined with culture as well. It's all combined with culture. For an example, if I'm talking about imposter syndrome, then I know they would understand what I'm saying, because I guess they've also, been through it. And so it wouldn't be a thing of like, oh, just, don't forget about that. It's more like, oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, that issue is real. Because sometimes I think that's what you need, isn't it? Not necessarily somebody telling you a solution right away, but I think just kind of comforting you and saying, oh yes, we've been there, we understand, but it's okay.
Absolutely. I think you cannot underestimate the importance of being heard, truly heard.
Yeah.
Somebody who sees you and hears you and says, yeah, I understand that. I've been there. I know what that's like. Because I think especially, as you say, with work, it can be quite an isolating and lonely experience, the PhD. And that sense of seeing, I say, being seen, being heard, and being part of having other people as part of that experience can be really, really important.
Yeah.
And I think also to just acknowledge the importance of your willingness to be vulnerable as well, because it's a two-way thing. In order for people to be able to listen, you need to take that risk and say, actually, I'm struggling with this, or can you help me with this? And a lot of us find that really difficult. So I think I just want to honour that in your journey, that you kind of reached out to people and said, let's talk about this, and just to encourage other people to do that too, and to find their people.
Yes. No, it's definitely important. I mean, just recently, because I stumbled upon an article that was written by UCL, and they looked at the barriers to doctoral education, where they said only about 4% of doctoral students are Black. And I thought, oh gosh, so finding a role model is like a needle in a haystack. Going to be it's just going to be hard.
Yes, and I think that being resourceful about that, which you clearly were, and that sense of, because as you say, it's really important when you're feeling like, oh, should I be here, to see someone else who looks like you, sounds like you in that place, and going, yeah, look, here we are. I can see that happening. So, and now you're going to be the role model, right? You're the role model for other people.
I'll try. But I think what I've also learned, I think it's also kind of accepting that, okay, because we're obviously going to be in the minority, other than kind of beating yourself up and saying, oh, I can't find anyone. I think you have to start thinking outside the box. So yeah, fine. So accept that academia is not a diverse field, and don't just focus then on people in academia. So look outside, so other captains of industry, and learn from their journey and apply it to yours. I've definitely learned that.
That is brilliant advice. And yes, because I always talk to people about like who's on their team, because I think often into the PhD journey, people look at, well, there's my supervisor and that's my person, that's it. And actually think about who else is on your team. And like you say, be greedy, like go look elsewhere too. I have, you could have whoever on your team if you kind of have read their book and you go, yeah, right, I'm going to have you on my team. It might be that you've got celebrities on your team, whoever it is, but like you say, that you can kind of learn from their experiences. I think that's really, really useful advice.
So
now I'm going to ask you for some more useful advice. I'm going to ask for a top tip, which I know is really unfair, but I do it to everybody. And you can have more than one, and you can also just repeat some of the golden stuff you've already said. So what top tip or top tips would you have for other PhD students, other Black women coming into academia?
Definitely. I think the things I can think of is having a PhD buddy is really important. Doesn't really kind of necessarily matter what color they are, but just there's always someone that you can find that you can connect with anyway. I never underestimated how important having a PhD buddy is, or PhD buddies, where literally you can just have a moan and no judgment, and just like a release. So which is really good.
That is brilliant.
And then definitely, as I said before, like looking outside academia and learning from other people as well. So one tip I can give, actually, one interesting person that I listened to is somebody called Jennifer Kempson, who's also known as Mama Furfa.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not PhD related as per se. She's more like a finance thing, but she does do other things to do with prosperity.
Right.
And she talks about ways of having a holistic approach to any aspect in your life. And she inspires me because of her positive mental attitude and just ambition and integrity. And actually, during this past year, I've really been inspired, and she's really been a true role model for my life. Yeah, and she's just kind of helped me in that sense to just focus my priorities through this process. So focus on exercise, mental and physical health before the PhD. And actually by doing that while I'm doing the PhD, then it just becomes more manageable, because actually then I tell myself I've done things that are for me before I then do the PhD.
Yes, that is gorgeous. I am going to look her up, and we will also put because she sounds amazing, and I want her on my team as well. And we will put the details in the show notes if for other people to look her up too, because she sounds super cool. And I think that it is that, as you say, in terms of having, I always talk about this, is that the PhD is a mindset gym, and you need to have people and resources that are going to build you up, support you, as you say, in terms of the positive mental attitude, which is really is not kind of fluffy in any way, because I think sometimes people think, oh yeah, that's just fluffy. Actually, this is about resilience and grit, and I just love it, and I think that you really need that for a PhD, and I think
you do.
When you found someone who can kind of feed that is golden.
You're right.
We're all on for Jennifer. Watch out.
Exactly. Find her. And also then just to like add to that as well, like resilience, you're right. Because then the books as well that I've read, which again are like non-academic, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I really apply this. So like the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And that's just the attitude of waking up early, and consistency is key, and just kind of doing something in that golden hour before you start the day. It just sets you up, even for yourself and even the people around you. You just notice a change within like a month of just kind of doing it. It's amazing.
Okay, so now you've gone even further up in my estimation, because that 5 a.m. Club is hardcore. I did read it. I did try it for a small amount of time, but I'm not naturally an early bird. But that is amazing, right? Okay. And that is amazing. And I think that kind of making time. Yeah, I know in terms of you having a family, to make time that is for you.
Yes,
that is really important, and I just absolutely respect you in that. Even more. Blimey, 5 a.m. Club. And again, we'll put the link from that. If you haven't found that before, it is a great book, and truly inspirational in terms of how you can take control of your time, I think is that take home message, isn't it?
Yes.
Milensu, you are awesome, truly awesome. Thank you so much for being here, and for all of that, for your inspirational story, for your tips, for your fantastic work. And I wish you all the best. Not that you need any wishes from me, because you and Jennifer are powering on through. But I hope that this, because I know you're in the final stages now, I hope that goes well for you. And we'll soon be talking to Dr. Milensu.
Oh, thanks, Emma.
And don't forget, if you're listening, don't forget that you can sign up for Notes from the Life Raft, where we always give a little bit extra every week, with a newsletter that will come straight to your inbox. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much, Milensu, for being here. And thank you all for listening.